2026 sees me travel the length and breadth of England to run a marathon per week in each of its 39 historic counties. Why? To raise funds for Tommy's, the charity that does incredible work to try to end the heartbreak of baby loss. I'll be joined each week by someone who has their own story of loss, their own rollercoaster journey, their own reason to be there. This podcast shares those stories in the hope that they can bring awareness to an often undiscussed topic and even, perhaps, a flicker of light in someone's darkness. You can follow the runs, the stories, and donate to the cause at marathonsformiracles.com. Enjoy. Welcome to week 27 of Marathons for Miracles. We edge ever closer to the magical 30. It's sort of etched in my mind now that once we get to 30 weeks, it's all gonna get much easier through to the finish. But not that we're wishing the weeks away. Every week is brilliant in its own right, and we've got another one this week. We're heading to Hertfordshire, which is sort of more my neck of the woods. My dad was actually born in Hertfordshire. Fun fact: he was born in Ware. You can imagine how that conversation went when I was 6 years old, trying to ask my dad where he was born. He had a lot of fun with it. I got very confused. But yeah, heading to Hertfordshire with Nellie, who is not a complete stranger, a friend of a friend. I've known Nellie for a few years through my mate Charlie, who you remember from the London Marathon leg back in week 18. And so, yeah, once we started to put the word out, I think Nellie saw what we were up to and got involved. So thanks very much, Nellie, for being involved with the challenge as a whole and for joining us on the podcast.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
So we will learn more about Nellie's links to Hertfordshire later, because she's also now a Norfolk girl, really.
I am a Norfolk girl, yeah.
Which it makes her very high up in the approval ratings. But yeah, before we talk about sort of the county for the week and running, which we'll do as ever later on, Nellie, can you tell us about what led you to being involved with Marathons for Miracles and Tommy's as a charity and their cause?
Yes, absolutely. Well, as I said, thank you for letting me be part of this epic challenge. And yeah, we're getting there, nearly at the 30. So why am I part of the challenge? Our story, I suppose, journey started in 2021. My husband and I got married. Fairly soon after that, started trying. I think at that time, I knew that it wouldn't necessarily happen overnight, and it can take time. I think we had been trying for about 6 or 7 months. Nothing was really happening. But again, they say that you've got to try for a year before you go for any tests like that. So we actually, the summer after, we're now 2022, we went on holiday to Italy, and it was a bit of a break. And I think we'd said to ourselves that after the holiday, if nothing's happened, we'll look to speak to someone and get some tests. Then whilst we were on holiday, I had that moment where I thought, actually, my cycle is all a bit late. Went to the chemist in my best Italian, got a pregnancy test, and found out that we were expecting a baby, and it was a positive test.
Amazing.
So at that
holidays often have a lot to answer for, but it's not normally the finding out that you're pregnant. It's normally normally the other bit. But
well, we might come to that bit later. So yeah, I mean, as most people know, once you see the positive test, you start planning ahead. And I think I went full bore into the next 9 months and what life was going to be like. Immediately stopped drinking any of the nice wine that we were drinking in Italy. Started planning and looking forward, and everything was going fine. I think I was nervous because I wasn't completely naive. I knew that things can go wrong, but I think I just didn't think it happened to me. So we had had my first midwife appointment, and I think my dates were slightly wrong. So anyway, I went for what should have been my 12-week scan, and it was at that point it was fine. Saw the heartbeats. They said that at that point I wasn't 12 weeks. I was probably about 9.5, 10 weeks. So, they couldn't do the measurements that they wanted to do at that point, so said pre-birth scan and come back in a couple of weeks' time.
Sure.
So I think at that point, having planned ahead, once I saw the positive test, I was probably even more planning ahead. We were very excited. And then when we went back for our 12-week scan, and at this point I'd been having symptoms throughout, but I hadn't struggled massively with morning sickness or anything like that. But I was fairly lucky to have massive symptoms. So I had no idea that anything had gone wrong. And then went in for our scan, and I think they say to you, "Oh, if we go a bit quiet, it's not always something to worry about. We'll sort of, it can take time." But I was just lying there, and I thought, this is taking, having had the scan 2 weeks beforehand, felt that, this is taking a bit of time. And then they said those words, "I'm sorry that there's no heartbeat." So that, world comes crashing down. And I mean, I was so confident that everything was fine. We were actually on our way to a friend's wedding, so we were both fairly dressed fairly smartly for a scan appointment. And I just it was completely for us. And I think at that point they then said to us, "Oh, go out into the waiting room and someone will come and get you and we'll discuss the next steps." And I remember walking out of the room, and you see all these other couples that are going in, or they're sat there with their pictures and they're all excited, quite rightly, should be very excited. But you just, I remember that was fairly heartbreaking. And it was all looking back on it, it's a bit of a blur now. I just felt numb, I suppose, because they classed it as a miscarriage because I hadn't had I'd had no bleeding, I'd had no
do they think in hindsight, given the sort of discrepancy in your dates, that perhaps you had been pregnant for 12 weeks at your first 12-week scan, but perhaps the measurements were such that baby had stopped growing or something, or they didn't really know. Fair.
So it was I think they said that when they sort of estimated as to what stage you were at, I think I was about 11 weeks.
Okay.
So from the point that I'd had the earliest scan to then, I don't know how long before I had a miscarriage. Then they give you, I can't fault them, they were very kind. They gave you all the leaflets, what happens next, and what your options were. I actually chose to, I'm not sure I'm going to say the terminology right, but I chose the surgical management, I think they call it. It's quite a horrible term. But they did say I could just wait and see what happened. But I was fitted in for that, so I didn't wait too long. And then, I mean, everyone just, and now looking back on it, if I ever have friends, I don't think there's no right thing to say to anyone, but a lot of people have said to me, "Oh, it's just one of those things, it'll be fine next time," and wasn't meant to be, and they meant, but obviously mean very, very well. But at the time, it's not what you want to hear. I wanted to know why it happened to me, and had I done anything wrong? Just couldn't get it around my head. Work out what had gone wrong. And we took some time to sort of take it all in. And I think at that point, when people have said, "Oh, you'll be fine next time," I wanted my body to heal. I needed to heal, but I was fairly keen to try again. Hopefully it would again. And it was one of those. I was one of those very sadly.
Did you get any answers off the back of that first one? Was it something that they were able to? Because that's it really varies. We were quite fortunate with ours in that they took some samples and they did some tests.
No, they did.
But
they didn't really give us any answers. I did manage to get some extra blood tests done and some initial tests that actually my GP was very good with and sort of helped refer us through. I think that was probably because I was fairly distraught one of my appointments with her, and she was probably thinking, I need to offer this poor girl something.
Yeah.
But yeah, nothing came back at that point.
Which hospital was this?
It was Norwich. Yeah.
It's a big teaching hospital as well, Norwich as well. It's the sort of place where if anyone, because we were at Addenbrooke's, which again is a big teaching hospital, and so I think partly because of that, it's sort of okay. Well, we'll try this and we'll try this because they're looking into things, but it's such potluck, isn't it?
It is potluck, yeah. But then I suppose fast forward, we then what was that, like 2022? We then started trying again, and I'd read all these things that once you're pregnant or once you've had a miscarriage, like you can then fall pregnant quite quickly, and anyway, it didn't happen for us for a while, and it wasn't happening. So we then, and once you're in that process, all you want is the end result. So we did decide to pay private tests. So both of us went and had some tests privately, and the results of that came back that actually our various reasons, our best chance of conceiving would actually going down the IVF route. So again, you feel like that's a bit of a blow, but at least we had a bit of a plan at that stage. We were very fortunate that I think it's postcode lottery. My workings put up my understanding of IVF, but we were lucky that we were eligible on the NHS for IVF, and we started that process. And I think
just on that, is that because of the test results that you'd had, or because of the length of time that you'd been trying?
I think a combination, but I think actually the length that without the test results, I think the test results were a contributing factor. But I think even without the test results, we had passed the timings.
A 12-month point, or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, you then have to go through quite a few. Whilst it's very fortunate people, the NHS have to go through quite a few polls and different stages, further tests to make sure you get one criteria and then the next criteria. And when you're in that process, it seems to take a long time. But looking back on it and knowing other people that have gone through it, we were actually very lucky, and there wasn't a huge waiting list, and we were able to start the process. I think from us saying that your best chances with the IVF, I think that about 6 months to when we actually started our first round of treatment. So yeah, and then I mean, other people you've had on podcasts will probably talk about the IVF process a lot more eloquently than I will, but it's not a nice process to go through, and but I think once I was in it, we were going through the cycle and going through everything. It was better. I just needed to get to that point where I was starting the medication and starting it all. Then I knew I was working day to day, so knew what was it was the anticipation. Harder, but yeah, I responded really well to the stimulation, the drugs, the scans that they were doing, all gave good indications that everything was fine. We then went in for our egg retrieval, and I can't remember the exact number, but I produced a very good number of eggs, and they were really, I think it was around maybe 17 or so. So above average.
Yeah.
And yeah, they were very, very happy with that. When you go in for that, you get given a sort of document that tells you what the next stages are. Had they've done the egg retrieval, they'll then essentially got 5 days before they do the transfer, and they will update you the day after to confirm how many have fertilized. Then again, keep updating you at the stage they get to before your transfer day. And then at the bottom of this, they tell you when you've got to take drugs, you've got to take things. And then at the bottom of the form, I remember reading it at the time. It said, whilst it's very uncommon, so many percentage of cases, there'll be a total that you won't get any. And then if you have ICSI, and we were having ICSI, we went down, it was even less. I think it was 2 to 3% of cycles end up with, they call it total fertilisation failure or something.
Another fantastic choice of words.
Yeah. So anyway, you sign this form, off you go, and you await the call the next day. And I didn't think too much of that, because we'd had a good number of eggs collected, and yeah, I was fairly confident. And then I remember I was actually working from home, and the next day I get the phone call from the clinic, and it's I don't remember her name. I can't remember what her actual role was, but the embryologist. I might be calling her something, but
let's call her an embryologist.
Yeah,
it sounds right.
Sounds right. She rang me, and the first thing after checking that she was talking to the right person, the first thing she said was, "Are you alone, or are you with anyone?" Well, firstly, a bit of an odd thing to say, but anyway, I was like, "Oh, I'm working from home, but no, I am on my own." And then she said, "Oh, I'm really sorry to tell you, but none of your eggs fertilized. So you've had, total failure." It's something that we've been, we're not sure what's happened. It's a very uncommon thing to happen, especially as we were having ICSI, which is a way to reduce that chance. So, and she said it's, really unexpected. And I remember at that point, it took me a little bit back to when we had those words of, "There's no heartbeat." And it was a bit of a blow. And I remember she said at the time, "I'll give you some time, and then I'll ring you back and we can talk through it again." And she was absolutely brilliant, but I was a bit of a mess. And then half an hour later, I had to jump on a work call and join another meeting. I mean, it was looking back on it, but
always the way, isn't it?
Yeah. But they were very good. They arranged a follow-up appointment fairly quickly with us. I think at that point they offer like counselling and things, because it was so those statistics, and that for that to happen, it was the unexpected. They want to try and sort of go through it with you. I remember the consultant saying when we went, they didn't really know exactly why it happened, and she said it could just be one of those things. But if we were just having the IVF route, she would have said my next recommendation would be to try ICSI.
Yeah. Because
we're already using ICSI, there were a few different sort of add-ons that she could have advised that might help. Can't remember the name of one of them, but she said, "I just want to prepare you that this could happen again." And it was fair. Yeah, I remember feeling fairly gutted about it all, thinking that you don't stand up for a chance, especially as I'd had quite a good number of eggs collected. So it was only our first round, so we thought we'll give it another go. So we did, and they altered some of the drugs that I was taking, made some tweaks, which I was pleased to see, because I think we'd gone through the exact same thing. I think I would have.
Yeah. They may have been sitting there knowing that it makes a blood
Yeah, no difference.
the difference, but for
Yeah,
you, just
for
to
me it was,
feel like you're doing something
yeah,
different, trying something new, it must,
yeah,
yeah, I can see that.
exactly. And yeah, so we went for our second round, and again had a good number of eggs collected. Yeah, I remember that night after the egg retrieval. Um, I don't think I slept at all,
Yeah,
and
no.
just waiting for that phone call. And luckily, we had better results that time. Did have some that fertilised, not not a huge amount, but we'd made progress. And then they then were updating us, and can't remember whether we got an update the following day of whether it was day 4, 3 or 4, but they hadn't. The ones that fertilised, the numbers were gradually dropping, which I
Yeah.
think it is expected. You don't expect them all to progress. But when it got to the transfer day, I think we were left with 2, but neither of those were of a grade that were very good, and they hadn't reached what's known as blastocyst stage, so they were fairly poor quality. And I can't remember the exact terminology again for this, but they graded them, and I take away from that was that not great, but at least there was something to give us a bit of hope and a bit of chance. So they yeah, I had to transfer, and waited for the dreaded 2-week wait, and yeah, unfortunately it didn't work. We were sort of back to square one, and I can't remember how long this has been going then. I think we were probably 18 or so in. So at that point,
Since your sort of initial referral
yes,
for IVF.
yeah, and we then went, and we were then having other tests and things. We took a bit of time. We were having some more tests, and actually at that point decided to swap clinics, and we went to a different clinic. We went down to London, and I think tests we both needed to have tests at different points, and especially me, I needed to have tests done at different points in my cycle. So I think it was going to take a bit of time to get all the information together. But the consultant that we chosen to see was specialised, was a specialist in the area. So yeah, we were fairly happy to wait and to seek his advice. And at that point, we then decided. Well, I decided that I was going to get a new job, and we were going to go on holiday, and just have a bit of time out, and have a break whilst we were waiting for results and other things to go through. And yeah, off we went to Italy. And when we came back from Italy, I decided I wanted to accept my job, and yeah, we were excited that planning a few different things. I went down to London for another appointment, then had to go and have some blood tests done. And then they were waiting day 5 of my next cycle to do, I think it was to do a scan of some sort. And yeah, day 5 never came, and I think it came. I'd arranged it. I remember saying to the lady, "Oh well, I think it's just because my cycle's a bit all over the place because I'm just a bit nervous about everything." But I think I got to the point where it was maybe 2 weeks late or something. And my best friend said, "Look, I think just take a pregnancy test. You never know."
Yeah.
And I did, and it come back positive, which was a bit of a shock.
Yeah.
So
seems that's where you need mates, isn't it? Because the logical thing is you're however many days late, you're probably pregnant, but exactly. It's something people have spoken about a lot, is you get so into the process, and you get so into this is the next step, that actually something else that comes in from right field, that can't be the next step. No, that's not exactly. That's not part of the that's not next on the list.
Yeah, that's not my next test I've got to have. Yeah. So yeah, we were pretty amazed. And the clinic that we were seeing were brilliant. They saw I had an appointment. I think at that point I can't remember how many weeks I would have been, technically maybe 5 or 6 weeks, but yeah, the same consultant looked after us and had done some early blood tests to check that my levels were increasing to how they should be. I then had an early scan with him, and at that point he gave us some other results that had come back in the interim, and he was like, I don't really want to be talking about these results because obviously we're in a different position at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, essentially my takeaway from it was that this pregnancy was a bit of a miracle, and we waited to have an early scan with him, and we did, and at that point he said to us that it wasn't looking particularly positive, wasn't the size that it should be, and there were a few other concerns that he said that it can rectify itself, and it might just be that we're earlier than we think, or it can catch up. And so I think the scan maybe was about 7 weeks, and then by the time we had another scan at 9 weeks, things were looking a little bit better. But again, he said, I want to warn you that it might not end up miscarrying again. So he did give me, I was put on progesterone to help.
That was my question.
Yeah, and waited out, had another scan at, felt like, I don't know how many scans I had in those first 12 weeks, but quite a lot. And every time I think I almost felt I was going to have a panic attack every time I went in for a scan. Waiting to hear those words that it hadn't worked, but everything, by the time we got to 12 weeks, things were looking pretty positive. Yeah, I suppose it was then ticking off the weeks as they went by, and next 9 months were full with a lot of anxiety. And I don't know how many extra private scans I went for, quite a lot. And I think I didn't actually believe it was happening. I think I was fairly in denial about it all, just because I didn't want to tempt fate.
Of course.
I'd heard those words. I'd known how unlikely it was, having experienced the total failure of the first round of IVF, miscarriage. I just thought the odds were fairly stacked against us. So I don't think it was actually until I was maybe 36 weeks, and my mum said to me, well, I think you probably need to start buying something.
Yeah.
Baby is going to be coming. And still don't think I believed it until Arthur was born. And then, the realization that we were very lucky and that he was definitely our little miracle.
Yeah. We like miracles.
Yes. Here. Yeah, absolutely. So, no, we're very, very fortunate, and count us as very, definitely a lucky one. But so that's how that's our story, basically.
What a journey.
Yeah.
If ever we needed more examples of how unstraight a line it is from deciding that you've found the right person and that you want to have kids to actually getting one.
Yeah.
And in some cases, as we've heard in previous weeks, not having one.
Yeah.
It's such a roller coaster. And it was interesting because the previous episode we'd done about IVF in detail was with Charlie, who obviously Charlie knows reasonably well, and there's so many parallels there. They had their Arthur first, I guess, and talking to Charlie and looking back, their eldest, who they had before they had any of their IVF treatment, in hindsight was a complete fluke, for want of a better way of putting it. And seemingly you've had the same with Arthur, which is fantastic. And what happy flukes. If
absolutely.
I don't like to refer to other people's children as flukes, but I hope you
it definitely feels like it.
Yeah. But with all that, was there ever a point in that pregnancy where you thought you were were home and dry? It wasn't sort of 36 weeks, like.
No, I probably drove Matt, my husband, mad with us all, and my closest friends. I was living on anxiety pretty much the whole thing through.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think it's everyone's pregnancy is different, but yeah, I never enjoyed it or thought it was going to be okay.
Yeah.
I was very lucky, and actually, I didn't really suffer symptoms or anything like that. I was fine. Towards the end, they were worried about my blood pressure and preeclampsia. But again, even at that point, I wasn't necessarily worried about the impact of that. I just was worried that the pregnancy wasn't going to last. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wasn't necessarily worried about my health on it or anything. It was just, was it actually going to happen?
How does that all interact with work and life for that? Because what we're talking, Arthur was born last year,
Last year, yeah, well, 25.
April. So we're talking best part of 4 years.
Yeah.
And I know firsthand how big a sort of psychological effect that has, particularly on women. I'm not going to say that it doesn't have an effect on men, but certainly the process of being pregnant, the process of the hormone treatments for IVF, that's something that I'm sure is not an easy period of time for men.
No.
But there's not the direct physical implications.
Yeah.
How did, and you said you changed job halfway through, like how?
Yeah. Well,
How? I think that's the question.
I'd actually been, when I fell pregnant for the first time, at that point I'd had another job offer, and when I got that positive pregnancy test, we obviously discussed it, and I said to my husband, "Oh, it's not the right time," so I politely declined. And I certainly wasn't unhappy at all in my job that I was in. I'd been there 12 years and absolutely loved it, but I just felt that with everything else going on, I needed to do something different. I just needed something that I could take control of and do something different. I've been very upfront with the company that I'm with now about the IVF and everything they do. And after I'd been given the job offer, I again was upfront. I was very upfront, and I said, this is position. I know that various laws and things like that, so that they can't technically discriminate against me, and but I wanted to be upfront and say, look, I think at that point I was 6 weeks pregnant, but the likelihood of things working weren't great. But they were absolutely brilliant, and they said, no, you're the right person. We'll stand by you, and we'd love, hopefully everything will work out fine, and we'd love to have you on.
Amazing.
So I think in a way actually maybe added an element of stress, I suppose, moving jobs, but I suppose it gave me a bit of a focus as well. So can't fault them. They're brilliant.
Yeah, whilst all these other thoughts are rolling around in the back of your head, if you've got something to target them at or forget them for, I guess
exactly. Throw myself into something.
Yeah, that idea of taking control is an interesting one as well, because we've spoken about it a lot in reference to running, and how, again, particularly the ladies that we've had on have found that a training program or a physical target has given them something to focus on. And a lot of people have spoken about sort of trusting their body again and that sort of thing. So there's that physical focus, but just, I think anything you try and put yourself in situations where you control the outcome, nothing else controls the outcome, because you've got fed up with the outcome not going the way you want it to go. Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about, and again, because we spoke about this a lot with Charlie on his IVF episode, we got the male perspective of it, and I think he dealt with it very well.
Yeah.
But you, having gone through it a couple of times, how do you cope with the hormone treatments for your IVF?
I mean, looking back on it, I must have been probably a bit of a nightmare to live with. They do send, I think they probably did send me a bit mad at times. I didn't suffer first round. I felt fine physically. Injecting yourself is never pleasant, but it's it was fine. The second time, and I think this is one of the issues that Charlie spoke about. I had bit of the overstimulation, so I felt a bit after going to a retrieval. I was fairly uncomfortable at that point. And because they'd altered my doses and things as well, I think I was having a bit more a reaction to it.
Yeah.
But I was very lucky at where I was working, and I think it's Alice had previously spoke a little bit about this. But the company I worked for before I moved had a flexible working, like flexi time hybrid working approach.
Yeah.
So that did give me the ability to work around my appointments, because you are in and out, and you know what Norfolk's like. Like your clinic's just down the road. It took a good sort of 50 minutes each way to get to the appointments. So, but I was able to manage my diary effectively enough to fit all of that in. So I think that helped.
That in itself is a massive undertaking, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just so much extra brain power required at a time when your bandwidth is pretty stretched as it is. Is it the case that you're so, again, using the same terminology, like you're so in the process that it's like, I'm doing this because this is the goal at the end and this is sort of the payoff?
Yeah, that's how I dealt. Yeah, that's how I thought about it. It was, you're just in the process, which is why I think actually the before part and the anticipation I found harder than actually when it started and I was in it. You just take each day. But I think probably looking back, I wasn't upfront with whilst I should have been, because they would have been brilliant. I know, I'm very understanding. I didn't want to tell my work. They weren't aware. And the fact that I had the flexible working and I could do it without them being aware. Whether they may have thought I was a bit grumpy on the odd day. Probably had a bit of a short temper, maybe. Yeah, they'd be better to comment than me. But I was able to manage it. But if I was doing it again, I definitely would be more upfront.
Yeah.
It would be one less thing to juggle and to manage.
Can you think about going again at this stage? How does 4 years from A to B leave you? I mean, okay, Arthur's only just turned 1, I guess, so you're perhaps not quite there yet anyway.
No.
But yeah, what's your mind towards that after where you've been?
Yeah, I think we've spoken about it, and because of we didn't have successful rounds of IVF, and I just don't think actually I'd want to go through it again. So I think whether if you ask me in a year's time, maybe, or 2 years' time, maybe I think differently. But it was hard enough doing it without child sort of in the mix as well. We've got Arthur to think about, and we're very, very, very lucky to have him. So I think our thoughts are at the moment that we go down the IVF route.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
Obviously, if another miracle,
biannual holidays to Italy.
Yeah. Yeah. You never know.
I think there's we've spoken a few times, and certainly this was the case for Amy and I, sort of trying again after a loss. The psychology of it is so very different. And we got to a point where I had to sort of say, look, we need to just back off this for a month and just chill out and let what will happen. And then the next month we got pregnant. And other people have spoken about, going on a holiday to take their mind off it and not think about it. I don't know how anyone would go about conducting research into into that, but I just anecdotally it feels like there's got to be something in it just to and the other thing that from what you were saying there that feeds into the big piece of research that Tommy's just finished about their graded model of care. I appreciate you getting pregnant for you didn't happen instantly, but ultimately you did get pregnant twice naturally.
Mm-hmm.
And you said that the consultant had sort of been fairly pessimistic about the second one from the early indicators, but that you were on progesterone.
Yeah.
Again, with the 0, we do put a disclaimer in the show notes. That's that.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't take anything that we say as medical advice, but it's backed by what Tommy's have just announced around, just after one miscarriage, treating any women going forwards with progesterone throughout their pregnancy and the outcomes that produces. It does feel like things are moving in a direction where it could be slightly less potluck than it might feel otherwise. So yeah, it's just tough, isn't it? It's tough getting back into that mindset, having had such a long go of it.
Yeah.
As ever. I'm sorry.
No, well, I mean, we count ourselves as very fortunate. Doesn't, I suppose, doesn't take away from what we've been through to get there, but no, we are certainly feel wrong.
Yeah, tough journey. Did you ever take up any of the counselling that they offered?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
yeah, I did.
Useful?
Yes. Yeah, I did find it useful. Yeah. Yeah. We took up the counselling, and they also they recommended various different things. I also had this work. I then did this I did obviously do this privately, but had reflexology all the way, quite a long time, and then all the way through my pregnancy as well. And I was a bit dubious about it to start with, but definitely felt that helped.
I had some reflexology in London when I was living down there, because there were some students who were doing it and they were basically paying people to have it done. And I went in, I had no idea what to expect the first time. This is when I was in a stage of life when someone's paying you to do something. You go, you're like, oh, cool, sure, I'll go. And I don't know if I ever felt any benefit from it, but it was very relaxing. I remember it being very relaxing. Because it's all foot based, isn't it? It's basically all through. Yeah.
Yeah. And when they were first talking about it, I thought, oh God, I think anything worse. I'm than lying there and having someone prod around with my feet.
Yeah.
But it is very weirdly very relaxing. So yeah, I would highly recommend that to people.
And that was recommended by the
clinic. Yeah.
As something that can help with pregnancy, or just as a relaxation?
Well, it was actually recommended. So I had it during the IVF as well. So they alter it. She altered what she was doing depending on what point in the IVF cycle were, and then I carried it on from there.
Still going?
Not as often.
Not as often.
I don't have as much time, but yeah, I would definitely still go if I could a lot more.
Amazing. And any benefit from running? We should probably talk about running a bit now, I think.
We should do, shouldn't we? Don't know about this any better. I mean, maybe I should have gone after my hip issues I've had, but
who knows? I'll give it a go. I'll try anything. At this stage, I'll try anything. If it's going to make the legs a little bit less sore, I'll give it a go. Sexologist in Shrewsbury, watch out. So how's the training been going? And how you ran before this?
Yeah, I would class myself as a runner. I did run before. I've done one marathon before.
I think you can class yourself as a runner once you've done a marathon.
I don't know. But yeah, I signed up I did a half marathon back in, I think it was October. I think Arthur was 6 months old. So that was my aim to try and get around a half marathon. Probably was a little bit early. Not sure I was quite ready for it.
But you did get around. I remember seeing the results. I was baffled. Really, really, not as in really take my hat off to you for that. That was an incredible effort.
Yeah. So the training after that was going quite well, but then I've hit a few snags on the way. So I'm hoping that we'll get on okay. in Hertfordshire, but it might be a slow plod anyway.
We'll be fine. We'll be absolutely fine. I was going to say, my comment previously was very hypocritical because I still at this stage don't consider myself to be a runner. It doesn't come naturally to me,
No.
but I do enjoy it, and it's nice to get out and about. Have you enjoyed training alongside and having a little kid around? Is it a burden, or do you sort of get out close the door with your trainers on, go and take a deep breath and sigh of relief, and off you go for an hour or so? And
yeah, no, I definitely gives you a bit of your own headspace. So some of the longer runs, I felt a bit guilty. Going out for longer runs. But I did quite a lot. Put him in the buggy. And did quite a lot of running with him in the buggy. So not far, but it meant that I could factor in didn't have to worry about childcare and could just take him along with me.
What's his limit? Because I remember I had one run during my training where I pushed Poppy a bit beyond her limit and had such bad. I was sort of running the last mile back to the house. She was just screaming at me. I was so guilty when I got back.
I would say his limit's probably 40 minutes in the buggy.
Yeah, I think that was probably Poppy's at the time as well. I think I'd pushed it sort of closer to an hour and bore the brunt, felt the repercussions in a big way. He touched on it earlier. Why we're in Hertfordshire and not Norfolk? Much as I'd love to do 2 Norfolk legs, I think that would be great. I think we should have had at least 5 Norfolk legs, really.
I would have loved that because I'm on holiday to the North. I'm on holiday to the Norfolk one,
yes,
so I can't even be
remember.
there. So that's why Hertfordshire. So I was born in Hertfordshire. And yeah, it's route takes us around where I grew up, basically. And my parents are retiring at the end of the year, but at the moment they still live in Hertfordshire. So the finish line will be in the farmyard at home where I grew up.
Nice.
Yeah, quite a nice way to finish.
I think so. They're retiring from farming, not retiring from Hertfordshire. Yeah. Hertfordshire in and of itself is not a career.
No, they are retiring from farming and moving up to Norfolk.
Everyone sees.
Yeah, exactly. So, but yeah, Hertfordshire is home essentially. When I was younger. So yeah.
So whereabouts in Hertfordshire are we? Where do we go? What do we see?
The route. Yes, we're starting in St Albans, and hopefully doing the park run. And then we basically do a loop of St Albans up towards Harpenden, to through a place called Hertfordshire Forest. And then we basically loop back down St Albans and then pick up footpath that takes you towards a village called Redbourne, and then from there onto some more footpaths. I'd say probably 70% footpaths,
nice.
30% road, and yeah, then we do a couple of loops basically around the farm.
Nice.
And finishing in the farmyard.
Familiar territory.
Yes. Yeah.
Excellent.
Absolutely.
That's what we like.
And I'd say it's probably not as flat as I was planning, but it's not hilly.
It creeps up on you, the elevation, though. Like, it doesn't in Norfolk. That's the one place where the elevation never creeps up on you. But anywhere else in the country, like if you go, I think I've said this before. If you run 26 miles in any direction in this country, you're gonna go up a hill at some point. Like, we don't mind hills. After the weeks we've just had in Somerset and Wiltshire, I think Hertfordshire will be all right. I think we can go. No, it'd be a really nice day out. And I think we've got certainly our whole gang's coming down. And I think the aforementioned Charlie and Alice are coming up from Essex for the day. They're going to come and run. So we might lure some people out of London for the day as well. So
that would be great. Yeah, well, it's easy to get the train to St Albans from London, so no excuse.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really looking forward to it. I think you showed in your half marathon efforts after 6 months that you will get round whatever happens.
I'm fairly determined. So I'm sure we'll get round some way, but it just might take us a long time.
Yeah, no, we'll be absolutely fine. Park run start time in the middle of July makes for an interesting time of day to be running a marathon.
Well, this is why I said potentially with park run, because I thought we could see what the weather's like, and if we want to start earlier,
we'll make a call.
Let's start earlier.
On that one. Yeah. Park runs are good fun, but the last 10 miles of a marathon, the last 10K of a marathon at 1 o'clock in the afternoon is not always fun. So we'll see.
Right.
We'll see.
Yeah, I'm very happy to start earlier so we can have a fiddle around with the route.
This has become so many people who perhaps don't know were talking to me last year about December and January and February and how difficult it was going to be and how miserable it was going to be. And I've said throughout, like, nah, January and February will be easy. July and August, they're the ones that I'm not looking forward to. So no, it is nice when it's sunny, obviously, but it has its downsides.
Well, I'm planning on my parents at various different pit stops for us with refreshments and things.
Like a pit stop.
And
a tree to hide under. It's a pit stop with a tree to hide under. Then we can 5 minutes of
chuck a bit of water over us and we'll go again.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, I'm very glad to hear that your hip is up to the challenge. And yeah, I know you've been training really hard, which is even more commendable as a mum to a small person. So well done to you.
Thank you.
Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, looking forward to it too.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see you again. I haven't seen you for years.
Yeah, so, I know. Really lovely.
Good day out. Fantastic. Nellie, thanks so much for your time, for sharing your story. I'm sorry again that you had the challenges that you did, but I'm so pleased that Arthur's now here and you get to enjoy him.
Yeah, our little miracle. So yeah, very, very fortunate.
We will see you on
Saturday.
We'll see you on Saturday.
Yeah.
Thanks, Nellie.
Thanks very much, Ollie. Cheers. Bye.